everybody! Welcome to All That Matters and Moika Malamututu.
And I'm Komiki, and welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. But before we dive right into it, Dudu and I just have to give you a quick disclaimer and to let you know that the content we will be providing is for entertainment, educational, and informative purposes.
Yes, Kel. Is that the information, opinions, as well as recommendations provided by us should be by no means considered as medical or professional advice. So yes, guys, I think today's topic, I know I'd normally ask, how are you doing?
Yeah.
But I just feel like, this conversation that we're about to have today has been long overdue.
Yeah.
And obviously for me, it's just surrounding the issues around the Krugersdorp, gang rape, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that could literally be anybody and any female. And the story's just coming out from that area to say, literally, this has been happening for years and years and years on end. It's basically for people on, I think it's the West Rand.
Yeah.
That's their life, that's what happens on a regular. So I just wanted to touch on the conversation of trauma, and I just wanted to let that out first.
Yeah.
But before we dive right into it, how are you, girl?
Girl, I'm good.
Yeah.
I also just want to add a few things there as well, because my mom has also been telling me, like, those people, like, literally, like, she's like, the way that they live, it's so scary and it's so shocking and so sad to think that people actually live like that. Like, they live in fear. They live in, what do you call it, this thing of, we always have to be, like, alert. We always have to be on guard.
Yeah, you're not
anything
safe.
Can happen. And I can only imagine what those girls must have been going through, It's so unfortunate that we live in a country where it seems like these things happen.
It's a norm.
It's a norm, girl, and then it's acceptable, and it shouldn't even be acceptable at all.
At all.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, you think, Uguti, then what's the next step going after going through such a horrific incident, And I think also not just a next step for the particular individual that had to go through it, experience it, but also for the loved ones around that particular individual, because you also face a certain trauma seeing someone that you love, someone that you care for, just, going or experiencing something so significant, something so life-altering, So that's what I wanted to touch on today. So our conversation for today is, our topic for today is around trauma. And I think, it's just basically us wanting to raise awareness of what trauma is and how it can affect an individual and how it can alter someone's life, and what we can do as Matters and More to assist, as well as just to remove a bit of myths that surround that particular topic. So,
and I think that another thing, like, as human beings, that we need to realize is that trauma is like, it's a long process, and it's ongoing, And I think one thing about trauma that I think people will forget, or maybe I have also, like, come to learn and understand, is that, like, trauma can be something that happens now, and you only deal with it, like, 5 years, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I love how you say it's so life-altering, because that does alter your life, It's like you keep pushing back things that you actually need to deal with, guys. And one thing that you need to deal with is trauma, full stop.
Full stop.
Like, you have to deal with it, or else, like I was saying, when you now realize that you need to seek help, and in the future, obviously now when you actually need to start tackling the trauma, it will be a lot worse than what you think it was.
And there I agree with you, because I think things happen to us, and probably not just, minor thing like, man, my favorite restaurant didn't have Avo, I'm so traumatized.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, things in our everyday life, particular stresses do take a toll on us. And it's us having to actually recognize those emotions that we're currently facing, that current anger.
Yeah.
If you're really upset, just to deal with it at that particular moment, so you could eventually outgrow that feeling.
Yes.
Outgrow not just the feeling in general, but the feeling regarding that particular incident.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So just dealing with it.
Obviously, like we're saying, I think it would be very good for us to also explain to our viewers what trauma is.
Yeah.
So trauma is if you actually went or have gone through something that's traumatic, or you have, experienced it, and then you have witnessed it. So with the witnessing part is if somebody has actually told me a traumatic event, or I'm actually witnessing something traumatic happens, So that would be trauma. And I think it's good for us to say, Tutu, that trauma can actually happen like in multiple ways. Obviously, at different times, we never really know. It just happens, and then we go through something traumatic. So I just think that obviously we also need to let our viewers know, guys, is that trauma can happen. You can lose a loved one, it could be childhood trauma. You can get mugged. The example that we used in the beginning is a rape.
Yeah.
Natural disasters. Divorces. You can even have trauma sometimes in your friendships.
Yeah, and I think also with the whole pandemic, COVID, that's left a lot of people very traumatic.
Yeah.
And one thing that we don't notice as individuals that trauma is sort of an underlier for so many mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
For someone to start substance abuse, in most cases it's due to a traumatic event, something leading to depression, traumatic event. And I think it's just us as people understanding the importance of tackling the issue with trauma or tackling the emotions with trauma and just dealing with it then and there.
Yeah. Because, another significant thing that we can tell our viewers is that, guys, like, trauma is ongoing. I'm probably repeating myself, but I have to, because people really do need to understand that trauma is definitely ongoing, guys. What you experience now, or sometimes what will happen with trauma, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dudu, is that I can experience something traumatic now, and then kind of wake up tomorrow and be like, no, but I'm good. Guys, you're not good,
At all.
It just means as if though your body is rejecting those feelings and the physical feelings and what you're actually going through. Then what will happen at a later stage is that everything will come back and then it will kick in again.
Yeah.
But sometimes, obviously, that I guess would be a natural reaction for your body to try and protect you from those.
Defense mechanism.
Knowing that you're going to feel bad. But guys, don't let that fool you as well, because obviously it has long implications.
It does. And like you've touched on, like physically your body will eventually tell that, listen, you may not even know. You may go to doctors and one of them will eventually pick it up that you are not physically ill.
Yeah.
But this is a psychological thing. It's because you've been trying to run away from things, but your body, what happens in your mind happens to your body.
Yeah.
So you'll start feeling those backaches, you'll start getting your migraines, you'll start having those, tummy issues.
Yeah.
You'll start feeling the fatigueness. You get what I'm saying? You'll eventually deal with it. And that's the thing that you've said about trauma. It may happen when you're young, but it's still gonna influence you when you're older.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I've shared with you is the loss of my grandfather. I think you and I have once had a moment, and I was like, at that point, as growing up, I thought I was fine. I thought, what, it happened, I'm okay. But actually later on in life, when I'm looking back and I'm like, this thing is really bothering me and it's honestly affecting me. And hence it's so important to touch on the loss of a loved one. And I think we've all lost significant people. And I think some of you have witnessed your loved one pass away right in front of you. And that's a feeling. And I think I want to bring this up because that's a feeling that you genuinely... Oh shit, I think I'm going to get emotional.
Really?
Yeah. And that's a feeling you genuinely cannot shake. And it's just understanding that you need to process it. You need to deal with it, because the walls that you start putting up for yourself, you're eventually going to need to break them down and just, be like, that happened. I'm so angry. I could have. Because I think a lot of things when we go through a traumatic event is that we tend to blame ourselves, And I hope the ladies that undergone the Krugersdorp rape never feel the need to blame themselves or feel like their body failed them, because I think as women, and I think I've read a story where this woman's like, she got hijacked and at some point she felt like she failed herself. You didn't fail yourself. You never caused a situation to fall upon you.
Yeah.
You didn't ask for this to happen to you, but yes, it happened. It's so sad that it's happened. It's so hurtful that it's happened. And I'm not going to say heal from it now, but I hope that when the time is right, that you're able to go through those emotions and you're able to deal with those emotions and you're able to process it because you didn't call for it. And that's the thing about traumatic events. You never call for them because you never know when they're coming. They just find you there, So yeah, I think I've pushed it. Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, girl. Like I also understand
Thank
as
you
well.
for that.
It's a pleasure. I understand as well. We've also spoken about how I've lost my brother. I think that one. Unfortunately, I'm going to be honest. I'm just not ready to talk about it as of yet. But at a later stage, when this topic comes up again, then I think I will be able to share. But I think another traumatic event that happened to me is that I nearly got mugged. I don't know if I've told you this, have I? Yeah, so I nearly got mugged. That was also quite traumatic to me. And then I was a little bit irritated as well because I was just like, damn, like, this is my means of transport, So how the hell am I supposed to get around when now I constantly have to be looking like, towards my back, And I remember it happened, it nearly happened to me again. And then I was telling my brother, and I remember, like, I went home crying. Like, I'd always sob. Like, I'd get home and sob when I thought that I was, like, getting mugged. And my brother was like, the fact that you can, you also need to be proud of yourself, because the fact that you can even identify that something like that is happening, well, now this is a case of mugging, but in some instances you won't necessarily be able to have that control. I just want to put that out there as well so people can understand. So it's like the fact that you can also even identify it, or you're so strong to even like still want to use public transport, that's like very big. But I think, yes, he said it and it made me feel good, but I was also just like, damn, like I really just do not want to go through this, Like I got lucky. It was 3 men that were in a car. One of them had a gun. So the one that had the gun, fortunately that day, I did not put on my earphones and I was walking like attentively to a certain extent, and then I could hear a car like coming. It was driving behind me. So I'm like, let me just stop, because obviously this car is they're gonna ask for directions. They're going so slow. They're gonna ask for directions, and then literally do like, as I was standing there, the door flung open, and then I saw a gun. So luckily I had my pepper spray and my body just went into overdrive and the adrenaline. So I pepper sprayed the guy. And then, like, I ran across the street, and then I ran, like, yelling. I was 3 houses away from my house. Literally 3 houses away.
Oh, my gosh.
And that sits with me till this day. I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, when I walk, I'm like, who's walking behind me?
Yeah, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, like, a thing with our body, it will always go through flight or fight.
Yes.
And I think that's why I think if you go through a traumatic event, or you just even walking around, you'll always be, if you haven't dealt with the situation, you'll always be in that zone, fight or flight, And I think sometimes you just need to understand that some spaces are safe.
Yeah.
We can't always be scared. You can't hear a bang and think, oh my gosh, something terrible happened. And those are the effects of not dealing with trauma, is that you'll get like, flashbacks of incidences. You get what I'm saying? You'll have like, your mind will literally play tricks on you about it and just scare you. And I think hence touching on that, it's so important to deal.
Yeah, and thank you for that as well. I think for a long time I didn't think that it is okay to deal with it. I was just kind of like, we live in South Africa and unfortunately I use public transport, so it is what it is. But then also, like, if I do that, I'm calling bad things like onto me, and I'm not focusing on actually with dealing with the trauma so that I can move on, And I think one thing that I'd also love to touch is that you actually said something so significant as myths,
Yeah.
Our viewers also do need to understand what a myth is so that they can differentiate between what a trauma myth is and what an actual myth
trauma is.
Yeah, and sorry, you're right. Yeah, what an actual trauma is. Sorry, guys. So a myth.
So I think one of the biggest ones for me is just that thinking that if you didn't experience it, then it's not good enough to be a trauma. But you actually feel the wrath of it as well. Like if someone you love is affected by something, without a doubt, now uzawuza lobo buhlungu.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, when you touch back and you're saying like causes of trauma could be so much, sort of like the floods that we've been experiencing in our country, you know, like what we touched on, the loss of a loved one, or seeing someone go through, you know, rape, or hearing about a loved one go through rape. That also leaves a scar on you. You know, because sometimes you wish you were there to help, or you wish you could have done something, but there's nothing preventing that situation. So you also carry the back burden of the load. So I think for me, that's the biggest myth. Like, just because you were not present for it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you. But honestly, it does affect you.
Yeah, and I guess, like, you know, how sometimes you say, well, sometimes how we talk, like another person's trauma, guys, may be different to yours, you know? And sometimes just because the person went through a trauma and yours is bad, like, I think people also need to be careful of how we differentiate trauma. You know, I may think, like, literally, I don't even know what, like, I got a small little cut on my arm. Like, oh, that's so traumatic, I see blood. When somebody was literally stabbed, I don't know how many times, you know? So I think that's also, as viewers, we also need to be cognizant of that, you know, and to be cautious in a way, you know, and obviously some problems are big. I may think that something happens and it's small, and I remember you and I spoke about this. Dudu may go through something and it's big to her. I mustn't actually discard that, you know, but also I must also be careful with what I'm saying in comparison to a certain extent to what she's saying, you know.
And I think also for people who are experiencing trauma, like when you guys are hearing things, just make sure that you don't now desensitize how your trauma was, you know, or devalue because you're hearing someone's experience and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, clearly my trauma is not big enough. You know, I'm a trauma way to like what Miki touched on, our funny. So the thing is just to acknowledge the point you are, but obviously don't over exaggerate a situation or don't misuse the word of trauma, but also just basically whatever experiences that it's like for now we were touching on, you know, we both lost loved ones and we lost them differently, you know, and obviously the situations were very different. But it's the thing that how I'm feeling, I have no right to discredit how you're feeling, vice versa. And how I'm feeling is truly valid for me and the way that I'm going to deal with it. Same
and I must accommodate you as well,
Yeah.
guys. We're not saying that just because somebody said something about a trauma, guys, always accommodate wherever you can. You never know. You could actually be a helping hand. So if Dudu feels a certain type of way, I need to accommodate her. Well, that's just how I would be towards you. I would accommodate you. Make sure that you feel so loved, so secure, and so supported that, you know, even if sometimes you have those thoughts and you may get emotional, but, you know, you also just have that thing of, I am validated. But this is a good validation,
That's a good validation. And, you know, the thing is overgoing like a traumatic thing, guys, it's not easy. And I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. But eventually with time, you will look back and be glad that if probably talking is what you want to do, or any other therapeutic measures is that what you want to do, or any sort of, you know, EEG treatment that you want to go through, you know, if that is going to work for you, then definitely do it, because we need to get helped. We're living in a society where abantu abaningi aren't seeking for help, you know, we're not speaking out, and a lot has happened in our societies, and a lot, I mean, like, I'm probably going to touch on this case because I kind of feel like it's so close to my heart, because as a female, I think we always have that thoughts that if a guy comes, I'm going to fight it, you know, but the thing is, we never know what happens in that situation. And I'll just like to say, you know, to anyone that's ever went through rape or any other traumatic experiences, that you're not alone, and you need to talk about it. You know, you need to deal with it. You need to seek help about it so that you can be a better individual within yourself, and you should not carry anger within those good bones of yours. Like Upile Chisela said, you know, don't let your body house so much anger. You need to let that out. So I think for me, that would be it.
And then guys, Lisataba, please, don't you dare have fear, guys. Fear is actually what stops us, you know. Don't have fear to feel and to go through what you're going through as well. And don't have fear to, you know, I'm not saying don't have fear to say that trauma is not going to happen to me. It can happen to you at any given moment in time, you know. It's just trauma, it's like koti. My mom always says, she's like, it's like koti. A text message doesn't come in to say, hey, what's up? Dudu Gunjani? Sure, Tuana, I'm gonna come visit you tomorrow. Kitotla like this, and that. Unfortunately, guys, like it doesnn't happen. Hey, irahala, you know. But just always like Dudu was saying, guys, like even us, when we may look cute and sit here, you know, sometimes and talk, but we also are going through things, you know.
Yeah.
And we just hope that you guys will always just take something out of our videos, you know. And listen, like latang hoto haman and throw that away. Like fear for me, I just think it consumes us. I'm so sorry. Actually, let me not derail because that's like a whole different topic on its own. But just to tie in what Dutu said, which is so beautiful, and just to end it off, when you think of everything that she says, always know, like, don't be fearful and seek help, you know, and do what you need to do for yourself to get better and to move forward.
Yeah, man, I think my last words would be, you know, there's a light at every end of a tunnel.
Yes.
And noma kumnyama okwamanje, but kusazokhanya. So just always be hopeful. It's not easy. Nobody said it would be easy.
Yeah.
But just keep trying and keep fighting. You know, keep fighting. And I know it's going to get scary when you're walking down that street. You know, it's going to get scary when you're doing a particular activity. It's going to get scary when you're in a car. It's going to get scary when you have to get into the pool. You know, there's just so many things that are happening. So just keep pushing and
keep your head above the water, I always say, you know. And yeah, guys, that's it from us. So Dudu, where can everybody find us?
Guys, if there's anything you'd like to ask, or if you'd like to share something with us, or if you'd like to, you know, just get into a conversation with us, you can definitely email us at imatterandmore@gmail.com.
Yes, guys. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel, All That Matters and More, and on Instagram, Matters and More.
Yes, guys, because you matter.